Maybe we just want everyone to be on the same page, like starting call-up, right? Maybe some weird errors.
You should mention that. Just raise
just
hand
maybe someone is late.
I hope. I hope
It's
everything
quite
goes
hard
well.
when like seminars in university have 30 people, you're just on your own, and you can't just help everyone. But here we have so many members.
You have more. Just mention that, and then when we rise it, we just. If it's going well today, probably next week I will do the same thing like you.
I'm not doing any. I'm doing mostly data manipulation. So I'll go get some water.
What's this?
It's my.
Is this like an old iPad or something? Printed.
Printed paper, real paper, not this fancy.
I've read about this on Wikipedia. Alright.
It's like a little bit of a recap, but with some useful, like, intuitive kind of things. I'm just like, oh yes, this is the processing stuff I like. Just get into it. Just to get to do the amount when doing something you've been doing. Yeah. I haven't done as much preparation as I have in previous weeks. I'm still like, I will learn more from being here because I will be more tempted to like play Magic on my computer instead of watching online at home.
I know you can do some exams.
Good accountability as well. Being like, oh yes, these people I will notice I'm not there if I don't know. Yep, exactly.
Well, you've got an incredible resume, so you can probably go straight to 75. Maybe more.
Okay. We can be open for more people as well, but I guess if it's more
I've noticed that, with this mic.
like on GitHub, how you can have like you get a free hosting thing or like your domain name, just like .io. Yeah, I think I'd brand recipe.
Hey everyone, how is the sound there? Am I still ringing in everyone's ears?
Yeah, I should probably do that. Yeah. Like,
It's the same? That's not good.
shows up as a result.
Alright, I think. Okay. That's going through the MacBook. That should be fine. Something's broken about this mic now, so let's see how we go. Alright. I'll just start us off. Hey everyone, how are we all? Welcome to another week of the course. Hope everyone's bright and chirpy. Tonight we have Olga walking us through this week's content. So yeah, we'll learn a lot more about Olga and some of the stuff we're going through. Before we do, I just wanted to remind everyone of a couple things. So earlier in the week, I created a spreadsheet because I love spreadsheets, and basically just so we can get everyone's teams sort of into one document and sort of track where everyone is. It'll just make organisation a little bit easier. Online groups have been organising quite well. There's a lot of groups in here. Some of them only have a couple members, so we will probably look to reduce the number of groups and combine a little bit, which we'll probably look to do over the next 24 to 48 hours. But all the people in person here are very naughty because I can't see very many groups in here. So you guys, today, once we get through some of the presentation, I think you guys need to form some groups and get it in ink in the spreadsheet, and then the idea there is that we can then start assigning mentors to each different group. So ideally by, let's say, in 24 hours time, so you have a little bit more time, we sort of have those groups formed, we know who's in what groups, what your data set or problem is, and you guys can start working, which would be great. So please make sure to hop on Discord and organise and make sure that you're somewhere in this sheet. Secondly, today I just created a GitHub repo for all the resources, the key things being the workbooks which we're going through and then the slides. So anyone who's starting late can obviously do a pull on this repo. There's also some links obviously to previous recordings as well if you want to rewatch those or share those. So just keep an eye on that. After every week we'll upload the resources for the current week. So without further ado, take it away, Olga.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Hi guys. Hi, first of all, let's check. Do you hear me well at the back? Yeah? It's all good? Yeah, just tell me if I'm getting too quiet. So, we'll just hit present. My name is Olga Moskviak, and I'm happy to be one of the mentors of this course. I'll quickly introduce myself so you know a little bit more about me. I'm now a PhD student at QUT doing computer vision with deep learning, and I'm actually finishing next month and going to new exciting adventure with Amazon Science to be a applied scientist. So maybe later tell you more about how it works. I started my journey 4 years ago, also with courses of Andrew and Jeremy. And I remember when I did the Andrew course, it was his previous course in machine learning. I understood all the concepts, I did all the assignments, but I didn't have tools to do any project. And then I found the Jeremy's course, and I improved my understanding of the concepts, and it gave me real tools to do some projects. So it was super exciting. So since then, I'm a fan of Jeremy, and I'm also rewatching some of his courses, new updates. Apart from that, I was mostly working with computer vision. So although I'm happy to talk on any problem, if you want to ask me, or best ask me about some computer vision tasks, also coding with fastai and PyTorch. I did a lot of coding the last 4 years. And if you need advice on reading papers, I can also help you with that, because I was reading a lot of papers and writing some of them.
What's your most recent paper?
Most recent is an ICLR conference. I also mentioned my interest in semi-supervised learning, so learning with less labeled data. So one of this paper is related learning key points on the objects of learning pose estimation with less annotated data. And apart from that, I did some work for US-based, more applied side of the work for US-based company, WildMe. We did some models to bring AI technologies for ecologists and biologists. It was super cool to collaborate with them. I did a couple of projects for them, and I encourage you to do more projects and bring AI to all kinds of areas. So let's get started. This lesson for Jeremy Week 3, you can see that we can split it in 2 parts. The first part, Jeremy uses a production notebook from chapter 2, and He talks about production, deployment, all kind of useful stuff. And the second hour, he dives more into coding. And today, I want to invite you to do some coding session. So just open up your laptops. We will be like, flex your muscles. We are going to do some coding today. And we're going to do coding in Colab. So, and while we do coding, we can revise some of the concepts from this week, and yeah, we can later talk about some cool stuff. So there's the number of topics that we covered this week in his coding session. So he talks about like path lib objects, some NumPy arrays, tensors, list comprehensions, and shapes, sizes. So if you've been working on some machine learning image data, for example, you may be really comfortable with it. So go ahead and do some further work. But to bring everyone on the same page, we're going to do this exercise all together. And I'll start as well. So if you go to our... Yep.
Just switch back to OBS and switch to that difference.
Okay, yeah. So, because now it's showing only me, right?
That's it. Your full screen. Down where it says full screen webcam on the bottom right.
On the bottom left. Yeah. Full screen.
Sorry, screen share with small camera.
Yeah. Like this? Oh, good. Thank you. So if you go to our GitHub repo, so in the notebooks, we will be working on lesson 3 workbook. And I'll open it in Colab. So I think we can copy and paste link to open it directly from the GitHub. The GitHub, I think it's in announcements, the link to... Yes, so we'll just open lesson 3 workbook. And I think Google just needs you and to have an account, and Google Colab is really nice to experiment in. So you won't spend your credits on EC2 or in AWS. And for this notebook, I think you don't need any GPUs because we're doing some simple data manipulations. So you can use GPU if you like. So let's see. Is everyone at the same? Do we need a couple of minutes to start the notebook? So this is just a skeleton of today's work. As I said, if you're comfortable with everything, you may skip ahead and, for example, load data for your own project if you have some idea. Otherwise, stay tuned or maybe help me as well. Yeah, Sean?
Has everyone got it up yet? I'm just looking at screens.
Oh, you have a better view than me.
Yes, I'm
Cool.
not seeing everyone having it open.
Yeah, we can have. And I can, yeah. So maybe while we're waiting, we can run the first 2 cells just to install fastai, fastbook, and all the stuff. So this is the same cells which you can find in any notebook of Jeremy's. So click run anyway. Click this one as well. need to... The top one?
Top one.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Are you fine with the line? Thanks. So we'll just... So we can have our call up running. And you'll notice... Yep. How's everyone? And guys, during the session, if you have any like individual troubles with like some weird errors or something, we have a number of really helpful, friendly mentors here who can help you on the go, so you're not left behind. So we have Sean over here, yeah, and all the guys waving their hands. So just raise a hand if you need help, and we'll come and help you. And today's session will be, what we are going to do, we're going to replicate a bit what Jeremy was doing in second part of lesson 3. So hopefully everyone was watching this lesson. He was doing some experimenting with MNIST dataset. We'll be doing some similar stuff with different data, and it often happens when you do the same thing with different data, you end up with different problems because the data is a bit different and a bit challenging. So the problem I want to show you is the cats versus dogs dataset. So it's pets dataset, which I think we saw in lesson 1. This dataset, how to recognize cats versus dogs. So we'll be using this data in today's experimenting. So everyone is ready, right? Just raise your hands who is ready. Okay, yeah. Let's start. Yeah, let's start. So first we going to load the data, and this cats versus dogs dataset. Hopefully we don't need to load it from somewhere. Somewhere we can load it directly from fast.ai, because fast.ai provides us with lots of different datasets. So you will notice that we have URLs. Sorry, typo. Yeah, the fast.ai provides us with quick links for many datasets, which we can just load and go. And the good thing which I like about fast.ai, I want to point out that for many datasets, it has a copy of the dataset, but in sample format. For example, some datasets are huge, and it's hard to start experimenting with a huge dataset. So fast.ai provides, for example, Coco sample. So you get the same structure, the same classes data, but a little bit smaller. And I find it really useful for experimenting. But today we need to load, which one? I think it's called pets. Right here. And how we're gonna load it? The fast.ai provides this function, enter data. And I think it will help us. So enter data is really helpful function, which will load some archive from internet, enter it, unzip it, and put it on your device. So it will take us hopefully really a couple of seconds to load the data, and it returns the path which the data is loaded. And yeah, so now I also wanna, I think Jeremy talks about this path in his lecture. This path is not a string, but it's kind of an object. So it's really helpful library called pathlib in Python, which return you like this object, and you can much more easier access all the parent directory, child directory, file name. It's much more easier to manipulate than just strings. So I have not been using it before, but yeah, I need to. Have you used it before, or just strings as usual? Okay, so it tells us where the path, where our data is loaded. So it loaded it's some hidden folder. And also, Jeremy mentioned that in order to avoid like typing every time pointing to this directory hidden somewhere, we can, it also was in his notebook, reassign base path to this path. So now our path will be our current. So yeah, we moved our execution into the path where our data is. Yep. And could you tell me how we can look at the, here's the path. Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah, I already had it here. So how can we display the content of this directory? Sorry? Yeah, cool. Yeah, so we have annotations and images. And how can we tell how many images in our data set? Yeah, we have some two directories. Go to directory. Yeah, sure. Yeah, the idea is from the audience is how we can go to directory here.
Slash images.
Yeah, cool. .ls. Yeah, cool. We got it. So we have over 7,000 images, and they're all listed. Not some of them. We can see the example of the file names. So we have 7,000 images. And also you can notice when you do ls, it returns us not a simple Python list, but something that specific for fastai. It's object L capital. It's extension of Python list. So I was talking about this. So yeah, fastai class called L capital. So it's extension of standard Python list. We have some additional helpful function like when we display this list, it tells us exactly how many elements it has. Usually before you have to like for every list print like len of this list, but now it's more helpful. So now what we're gonna do similar with did Jeremy for when he recognized 3 digits 3 and 7 in his example. We're gonna look, for example, load separately cats images, load dogs images, so we can maybe look and see if we can do the same approach. In his lesson he did a baseline for this digit recognition task. Which baseline did he do? So he just computed the average number 3 and average number 7, and then looked when I have a test image which one is closer. So let's try, can we do this with cats, if it will work? Yeah? So do you think it will work?
Yes.
Yeah, we can make our bets. So how we can load cats images? I think in his digit example it was quite simple because digits with 3 were in one folder, digit 7 was in another folder. Here we have all images in one folder. So how we can load all the path to cat?
I think the file name starts with a capital, with your cats and not with your dog.
Yeah, that's answer from the audience that yeah, the special convention of this file that cats images start with capital. So we need to somehow select these images, right, from the list. So in doing so, I may do something which, for example,
List comprehension.
yeah. Look, Michael, point for you.
I watched the lecture.
So, for example, we can load all images, all paths, and then split. And yes, list comprehension will help us to do this much quicker. So we can get all paths. So we can type path to images. We can also sort it, similar as was in a lecture, and do the cats. So we need to sort out of this whole list. We can just get what we need by doing list comprehension. So list comprehension is a quite cool thing in Python, which allows you to write for loop, but a bit quicker, and create list just in one line. So I'll write it like this. For example, I will take every p for p in all path. This will give me all path. But if I wanna something specific, if, for example, p, how do I get? So my p will be one path. How can I know? How can I get this condition if the first if the first character of the file name is capital or not?
Number one and then is upper.
It's all.
We can use is upper. Yeah. Slice. Let's look what we have now. If I print cat's path. Yeah, if every element is like a path. So what's the idea?
Stem.
Stem. Yeah, we need to get from this path. We need to get the file name, and actually it's.
If they're all in the same folder, could you just assume that it's the 6th, the 7th index?
Yeah, it may be hacky. We can get p.name. Name will get us the file name.
Split on the slash and then select the.
Yeah, this name will get us the file name, like the last, without the previous path. Yeah. Name dot is upper, like this. Let's see, will it work? Dama, have an empty.
You could do the first element
The first element?
of name.
Oh, yeah, right. Good. Yeah, the correction is to do not name, is upper, we need to get the first element, 0. Yeah, I got something. And notice it's printing me like weirdly all the content of my cat's path. I can also, what I can do is, for example, wrap it in this class L to get nicer fastai list. And if I get it in a fastai style list, I can get the number of elements straight away. So cool. Can we do dogs the same way? Yeah. So what they do, I'll spot P. Forgot P. Name index 0. So we have more dogs images than cats images. And also we can, here it's a simple, we should not lose any images, but you can also write a sanity check that you collected all the images. Yeah, all good? And now how can I display? I loaded some paths. Do you want to, let's see at this on these images. Let's look. So how can load and display an image? Yeah, cool. The idea is to use image.open. Image.open and what I'm displaying, for example, I can show the first image. Sorry, I need to also now scroll it up. Yeah, I have it. Yeah. And do you remember that when we showed like our NIST dataset in Jeremy's lecture, we had a little image 3 was really little, and our cat is really nice and big. Why is that?
On the transforms, that changes down to the same square size.
Okay, yeah, so our Omnis dataset, if you remember, the images are 28 by 28 pixels, so they're really tiny. These cat's images are much bigger. We're gonna look at it now. And it says display random image. I look at one of the images. How I can look at another one? I can put a different index, but if you remember a better way to display any random image, any idea how to?
Do a rand in and then multiply it by the length of the total number of images and then floor it or something?
Yeah, the idea is to use some random integer from, yeah, that's a doable solution. We can definitely use a random library, so random, but it's have a helpful function called choice. So it will just pick, we don't need to worry about indexing. It just pick the random image from this iterable, for example. So random.choice will pick us random element from the list. And we don't need to worry about indexing. Let's see, so now every time I refresh, I will get a different cat. Yeah, so every time I get a different image. So that's nice. So, and you can do the same for dog image. Bugger. My skills at pasting it. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I'll delete. Oh, sorry, yeah, I did something. Can I do Control Z here?
Should just be on the lines.
Yeah, I tried it. Image that. Sorry, I need to do random. Yeah. So we'll do the same. We can do the same for dogs. So it's now we can display the image size. How we can get the image size? Let's try shape. The idea is to try shape. Yeah, it works with shape. Good. Can we do something else? We can do also size. May work. You see there's a bit differences. Like when you work with images, be mindful how we gonna index in this, because when your image is square, you don't care, but when they are not square, you need to be careful, because you can check that, for example, this shape and size, they give you different numbers. We see that the shape, usually it refers to the shape of a tensor, and a tensor we index like row first and then columns. So the shape gives us number of rows, so we see that this image is tall, so the first number is bigger, so it's number of rows and then number of columns. When you have size, this function for some reason have a different notation, and so when you manipulate tensors, you get indexing like row columns. But when, for example, you plot something with matplotlib or any other Python library, like in a graph, some coordinates, the indexing is axis x, the first axis is horizontal from left to right, and the second axis going from top to bottom. So it can be confusing, so always do some sanity check, maybe plot stuff to be sure that your images are correct. So this cat image, we loaded it, we displayed it, nice, but what we loaded, so we can check with the function type what is our cat. So yeah, cat is actually like Python pil library. Now we want to convert this cat to a tensor or an array. So how we can convert it? So in order to feed it to our model, to manipulate in our network, we need to convert it, and can do simply array.cat. And you'll see if when I convert it to array, it no longer displays it nice, like a nice image of cat, but it's all like huge tensor of numbers. And if you've been working with code before, you're used to debugging, show some variables, but when you work with the data, with like images, just displaying the elements doesn't give you a lot. You see like huge volume of numbers, so we usually always check the shape. So instead of looking on the content of our tensor, because it's huge, we can from this print we can't even get what is the shape. So most likely you will use the shape attribute. So and now this shape is different from the shape of the image. So when we converted cat to array, we get number of rows, number of columns, and we have a 3. It's what's the 3? Yeah, channels. These are like, because this cat is color images, RGB channel, red, green, and blue intensities. In MNIST, did we have the same thing when we loaded digits? No, in MNIST, yeah, because MNIST it was a black and white image. It didn't have any channels. And can we convert it to tensor? Can convert it with a tensor command and get the shape as well. And how about slicing, indexing of tensors? We'll just have, for example, if I want to look at part of this tensor, like top left corner of 10 by 10 pixels, how I can access them? I will be working with tensor. If I want to display only 10 by 10 corner, do we use technique called slicing? I think also Jeremy covered it. So if we say column 10, it will give us first 10 elements from index 0 to the index 9, then another 10 elements. And for example, if you want to display it on only one channel, it will give us these numbers which are in the top left corner. So we had this blue corner in this image represented by these numbers. So it's quite handy, this slicing, and it's. Have you used it in like other types of data? I think this is the same as in list. And how can I get the bottom right corner? Anyone can help me?
Negative.
Maybe someone else? Yeah. Like I have some. So -10, like this. Yeah, it's a. So we can count back from the end of our tensor. And the second one, which will display us out the second one, it gives us the bottom right corner. So we see it's all just numbers. Oh yeah, I can do it right here. And how can I now, if I have this tensor, I want to check what's the image. How can I look at the image now? And so I get this cancel. Cat tensor image. So if I now I can't display tensor in an image like if I just print this image. Is there any function that can help us to display our tensor and see?
Show image.
Show image? Yeah, let's try it. S, yeah. Yeah. But I think what I wanted to do here, sorry, I skipped this line. I want to load not only one, I want to load all my cat images in the one big tensor, so I can later pass it to the network. So can you help me with that? Yeah, cool. The idea is to use list comprehensions as well. And how I can do it? Yeah, so we'll be doing like a tensor. I have a second square bracket. Tensor for image.open. For example, C, for C in gets path. So oh wow, I get some error. So can you help me with that?
Did you clean the directory?
Hmm.
Dot mat.
MATLAB file. We never know. We got the data. We got some archive. Downloaded it, and yeah, this is how you will work in real life. You got the data. You see some. Oh crap! It doesn't load. So what can I do? Who can help me?
If at the end of the list comprehension.
Sorry.
Add an if at the end of the list comprehension.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can either go back to our file archive, delete this file manually, or somehow clean it. Yeah, or we can add some if. how can I get the extension? Yeah, so yeah, one idea is to get -3 last 3 characters of the name, but if it's I think, but if its extension is 4 digits, yeah, but what's it about PNG? Is PNG file? Yeah, there are many options. We can't, so we can like write the function to clean all the data, but maybe I can look at the suffix. Suffix will give me the extension. Let's just say get rid of this naughty MATLAB files. What's again? Michael is super good. He wants to be the best student. So yeah, cool. Oh, sorry. Why? No, I said I don't want.
Suffix includes the dot, so you have the dot net.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Let's see if it helps.
Looks good.
Did you have the same data? Did you have the same stuff happening? Yeah, there are like many options. Yeah, we just maybe want to go through. Yeah, there's in each step we can see how it's best to clean our data, and when you get your own data, you can also decide will be your strategy. But for now, we just get rid of this mat file and hope the rest of the files are good. But we don't know. Did you load the dogs files? Is it better than cats files? So we can image.open, example D. So NEC list comprehension allows us to write a for loop in just one line instead of writing it in 3 or 4 lines.
Olga, can
Yep.
you show what that cat tensor's list comprehension would look like if you wrote it in a for loop?
Okay, do you want to write the for loop?
Yeah, what it would, so it was.
Yeah, so for example, if you want to have a list of tensors without list comprehensions, I'll just repeat for online. So if we don't want to use list comprehensions, we can do extended loop in standard syntaxes. So we declare, for example, empty list, then write a loop for C in gets path.
And with the if statement as well.
Okay, yes. The question is to write with the if statement as well. We can do this. We write an if statement. It adds us another line. So you can see the difference. So this is just one line of code with list comprehension, this cell, and this line, these 4 lines of code, we do the same thing but without list comprehension, and it makes our code longer. So we.
But what it does mean is that second line of code with the for loop is
Yeah.
actually a lot more readable to the average programmer if you have to go back and read someone else's code.
Yeah.
Particularly if your list comprehension gets particularly complicated.
Yeah, true. If you have a little bit more complicated, if you have more complicated logic, yeah, I agree.
So from a code readability and debuggability view,
Yeah.
Whilst I appreciate this comprehension stuff can do a lot and it's very powerful,
Yeah.
somebody has to come back and maybe debug it one day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody's
The,
doing
the,
something like
A good general rule
Yeah.
is once you get to a double loop,
Yeah.
so if we have for C in cat's path, for P or for letter
Yeah.
in C, you try not to do that if
Yeah.
someone else is going to read it,
Yeah.
or if you've got complicated if steps.
Because one day you have to go back and read it yourself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah,
we need
yeah,
it, we
yeah.
need you in future. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just repeat for online audience. The comment was that list comprehensions are good as long as your code is your for loop is not complicated. If you don't have really complex if statements, yeah, if you have something like a couple of if statements or something more complex, yeah, sure, just use a standard for loop. For loop may be easier to understand for people who come from different language backgrounds. At first, list comprehension was like something new for me as well, but the simple list comprehension, then you read it quite fast. Yeah, but it's a good note. So we show the image. So what are we going to do now? So we have a list of tensors. Now we want to combine it in a one large tensor to manipulate our data like as a big tensor. Sorry? Display separately? Oh, sorry, yes. Can you help me then?
I was curious, is that preferred? When you're printing or the shape of the tensor,
Yeah.
3 dimensions maybe?
Yeah, let's try. Yeah, each channel is, we need to slice to display a channel, we need to slice by third dimension. Let's show it, show image. So cat tensors. I have my first element in the list. It will be a tensor. And how can display only, for example, first channel? How I can slice by the, any help on this? Because if I leave it like this, it'll display me did I write cat tensors? Oh, sorry, I need just, yeah. I can't display the list of tensors, I need to display only the first one. I was trying to display the whole list. Yeah, I can display the first element. But it's RGB. I need to slice again this tensor and get, if I get this 0, will it help me? No, if I get 0, it shows me the first column. How I can get the last channel?
Besides everything, and then 1 or 0.
Yeah. So everything. Yeah. And I can show you another handy notation. If you don't know how many channels you have, I think 3 dots will work as well. Just 3 dots, just any channel. So we have now have just intensities of the red channel. And we can loop through the channels.
Like 3 dots, does it change depending on the sort of another branch?
No, 3 dots are just everything.
Oh, everything.
Yeah, and you just take the last, slice the last. Yeah, cool. So you see, I'm using this like quite also awkward indexing because I need to index each element in a list. So let's stack our tensors from the list to get a large tensor. So how can I stack them? Yeah, torch stack command will stack everything. Can I do cat tensors? Where else? Here. Oh no, it doesn't like me stuck in these tensors. Why is the error? Why do you think is the error?
Because each image is a different size.
Yeah, exactly. When we get a tensor, it should be a volume, and in each dimension we have the same. We should have the same size, so we can't stack images of different tensors of different shapes. So, what's the solution then? Resize, yeah. So where are we going to resize? The idea is to resize. Where to resize? Here, somewhere here. What do you think? What's the best?
We could do a list comprehension inside the command.
When we load the image.open, it loads the image, so we can maybe resize it here. What do you think? So what size do we resize? Maybe resize everything to a square to be on the safe side. You can notice now that this command will take longer time because it not only opens every image of these 2000 images, but at the same time it resizes each of them, so it takes longer. Did you run this command? So I open each image and then resize it. Can close this cat. Yeah, so can I stack my tensors now? It didn't work exactly. So what else? So we fixed the height and width of each image. So what can we do next? So it says us that some of images have shape with 3 channels, and apparently there are some black and white images in our data because they have only 2 dimensions, right? So now we have to clean our data, maybe get rid of these images or just clean it here, right?
You could resize the tensor.
Yeah, so I have multiple options. I can make these images resize a tensor. I can delete these images or something. So what do you reckon? What do we do? So in our list comprehension, which is getting messier and messier. So for the sake of time, maybe I will just what I can do, for example, if I get stuck, so I can see, for example, which shapes do I have. I can use a set and print shapes. Look at what are my shapes in my tensor. So yeah, it tells me that I have images which we like with RGB images. I have some black and white image, and I have some images with 4 channels, so it's probably like PNG with transparency or something. Yeah, so our data is not as clean as we would like it to be. So here we need to decide which option we want to do. We want to resize all the images to 3 channels, or just delete these images. So this is like in your project, you will create some function to go through images and do what you want. But for now, we can maybe get rid of them. So what do? We can create some function, for example, little helper function. Valid image and pass it in image tensor, for example. Pass it image tensor. So what we need to check, for example, if length of this tensor equals 3. And do you remember how we call when we compute the length? Oh, sorry, image tensor. You can help me here. That shape. So the shape is 3 numbers, and if we call the length, how is it called? The rank. Yeah. The rank, if our rank is 3, so we'll accept only RGB images. And for example, we look at the shape, and if we want to avoid any images with 4 channels, so we return true, or else return false.
You could also just replace if with return, and it will return
Oh,
the result.
yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
If you, after the resize, just write dot convert RGB, that converts the black and white into RGB, and you get 3 channels for everything.
Okay. Does it deal with transparent?
Yeah.
Okay.
With the alpha.
So instead of this, what do you suggest after
The resize.
after the resize? Yeah. So good tip from the audience.
One more. One more.
Ah, yeah.
No,
one.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, go.
Convert.
And then string RGB.
Capital.
Mhm.
Oh, cool idea. So yeah, thank you for that. So my idea it was to write a function just to delete, to get rid of all images that are not good. I wrote this function, and then Michael suggested to improve this function by returning this statement. So good. And from the audience, there was another good suggestion. We can use the function, so to convert everything to a nice RGB image. So let's try it. So for everything, there's lots of solutions, from some hacky ones to really cool ones. So did it work for you? Did you get a tensor? Yeah, cool. So we'll try to finish soon. So, and then if I stack my cats, so, and now if I want to display, the shape of this tensor, yeah, I have a nice large tensor. The first channel is usually relates to indexing your samples. Then I have rows, columns, and channels. Here we have channels at the last point, but as far as I know, in networks, when we pass the input to the network, it's a convention in the latest PyTorch and fastai that the channels comes at the second place. So when you will be passing your data to the model, to a neural network, we will see that your data it will be transformed, and by convention, its channel will be put on the second place. In some previous languages, I don't remember, in Keras, maybe it puts it less. So there are two ways of doing so, but in PyTorch lately, your channels will be on the second place, and then rows and columns. So that also, so you're just aware. So yeah, I think we almost done. So the final thing is, let's look at the, can we now compute the mean cat image and see if it helps us. So if I get my stacked cats, if I want to compute the mean, take the average. So which dimension should I put in my function? So if I put 0, it will compute the average between all samples, right? Let's check it out. Yeah, we got an error. So it says that we cannot compute. Actually, our stacked cat is still the integer type. So what do we do? I think.
What about 255?
Sorry?
What about 255, 255?
Yeah, so it says that we can't compute the mean. So we have, if we look at the cat, yeah, we can, yeah, I'll just show. Right now we have integers. So we change it to float. And as well, maybe just we'll do it right here at the top, and divide by 255, because by convention when we work with data we want everything between 0 and 1, float. It's nice for computations. And now I'll do just mean. So I get some big tensor. We'll check the shape to have a look at the shape. So yeah, it's now like one image. I remember how to show image. Oh, this is something noisy. Yeah, but maybe if we look at each channel. Maybe it will be something better. Oh, sorry. If the mean and then. Yeah, I take the mean and then out of this tensor. Yeah, square brackets. Yeah, it is something with pointy ears. So yeah, so we see that RGB data, like real data of cats, is a bit more challenging than black and white digits. And
it's like there's the common watermark on the top left as well.
Yeah, it's cool. Have you tried it with dogs? Is a dog different? Anyone have reached the point trying it with dogs? I think the dogs look a bit similar, so I think there is no way we can differentiate between cat and dog just by looking at similarities. Right, so now you see we've loaded the data manually. We just loaded the files, read each file, convert it into Tensor, and on our way we have to deal with a couple of issues of clean the images. So this is kind of long and error-prone process. So here fastai comes and other libraries come to the rescue. So let's quickly load the same data, but with, for example, data block from fast.ai, and see if we can do it in 2 or 3 lines of code in 2 minutes, or who can do it faster. So yeah, so you'll see the benefit of using libraries. It will speed up your process, you'll have less line of codes and less places to make a mistake. So I need to have my data block. Do you remember what I need to write? So if we're reading at a data block, I need to supply what type of images, what type of data I'm reading, image block, and category block. For example, I get items. I need to tell which data I'm gonna grab, so it will be get image files. Do you want to grab sorted files? So I don't think we need the sorted files. For example, splitter to split the data. Random. Random splitter. Oh, sorry. I get Y. So, and label. What kind of label do we have? I think it can, if our data is nicely in folder, it can be a parent label, name of the folder. What do you think we're going to do here? Yeah, remember in lesson 1 we had a function iscat. Yeah, so we need to, I'm not sure, this function is probably not in the library. So this function is cat. Dot name, first symbol. So yeah, so I define my data block, and data block is just like a blueprint how we're gonna read and convert our data. So we haven't applied it to any data yet. So we create our data loader. From our path. Yeah, something like this should work. And when we wrote these lines of code, there's a lot of stuff happening in the functions. So now it should automatically create us data loaders for training and for validation. And if we have a show batch. Okay, what did I forget? It also can't load my data, so what do you think I forgot to do?
Resize.
Yeah, here I need to resize as well. So how are we going to resize it? Yeah, item Yeah, so we also should tell how we're gonna pre-process each item. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. Now let's look at the batch. Oh, nice and clean. So this small portion of code substitute everything we did the last hour. So if we use library efficiently, it will help you in. So here I think it deals with all the kinds of files and sizes and shapes. And here you have a much more control of your data. So remember in the lecture, Jeremy told how we can resize your data. There are different parameters how you can resize. You can either, because your images are all different sizes, you have option to squish or crop different patches. And there's also data augmentation. So do you think we need to use data augmentation? Yes, so we can use data augmentation to change our image a little bit every time we pass it to the network. I think we'll finish with the coding for today to have some time to organize our groups. I encourage you to explore more. I have some couple of more tasks, like try to add some data augmentation, load data for more complex tasks, or maybe start with loading data for your project. What else? Yeah, try to train a network. Also for the food data set, it's simple, but at the same time a bit challenging. Any questions at this point? Yep.
Yeah, so for MNIST we use the averages to get like an easy baseline.
Yeah.
What would be your next easiest baseline with this kind of image, assuming that average would
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and this question hasn't been answered before. I think it was answered maybe 5 years ago. We'll see next week how. Yeah, the understanding of these real life images was a hard task, even maybe 6 years ago. So convolutional neural networks we'll see how they are helpful to solving the tasks like this. So when our data is so diverse, when it's like real images, it's really hard to come up with a baseline that just look at some.
The baseline you would go for would still just be deep learning anyways. It's just sort of at that level.
I think there are some handcrafted features. I'm not sure how well this. Did anyone work with computer vision before deep learning? How well we can use the handcraft features? Like, can they recognize?
These days, yeah, you just use a small network, like a little mobile net or something.
Yeah.
Just train it with your
Yeah. So
results.
this task is not as easy. Yeah. It's not NIST. Yeah. So I think neural networks will help us. Yeah. Any other questions? I will be around if you want to chat. And now I think I'll pass to Michael.
All right, thank you, Olga.
Thank you.
All right. So, yeah, obviously the notebook will be available for anyone who hasn't managed to download it here on GitHub. I'll also update this repo so that there's some instructions on how you can actually just basically pull this repository down onto your cloud instance or wherever, and then open up the notebooks and work through them. I'll update that tonight. Now we've got a little bit of time. I think what we'll do is try and everyone hone in on their groups. Obviously a lot of the online participants, have already done that. For those of us here in person, today, yeah, maybe we can use some inspiration. Thank you, James. We can use the spreadsheet that we've got as inspiration, hopefully, from our online participants. There's a lot of great ideas in there. We can either obviously look at the groups that are already here and potentially use the same data sets. There's also a list of example data sets in the fourth sheet of this spreadsheet. So right now, let's try and focus on, getting into groups. And once we are done that, in the next couple of days, what we will then do as a mentoring team is basically assign every group a mentor. So any group that has a lot of members, you should be safe, but there's a good chance if there's only 1 or 2 people in a group that we may look to actually condense the groups down just so there's not too many different data sets and problems that each mentor has to look after. Sound good, everybody? Awesome. All right, so maybe we do the same thing, at least for everyone in person, as we did last week. Maybe we make this computer vision land, natural language processing over here, and then whatever else down there, tabular, time series, anything else that you guys are into. Sound good? So if you guys want to move now, mentors, feel free to gravitate to a certain area if you want to. And I will post a link to this spreadsheet in Discord. Awesome. For anyone online as well, if you have any other questions or requests for different data sets, let me know, and I'll keep an eye on things during the session for approving data sets or any other questions you guys have. Cool.
One of those would be Stan should
Just wondering who the best mentor to kind of float out idea by, just to kind of
I think any of them.
proof it out. Okay.
Yeah, if it's computer vision, maybe Olga. What is it?
Basically, have a video feed and obfuscate any branding that's on this t-shirt.
Yeah.
So there's a number of different ways we could do it.
Yeah.
Just what's the best?
Yeah.
Or like trade-offs between them.
So what are the options that you're thinking of?
There's quite a few. So we could do some kind of like object detection where we
Yeah.
actually go through and actually take pictures, and it'd be fun because we go around the office and take pictures of people.
Yeah.
So we need to classify. So the use case specifically is
Mhm.
on clothing.
Yeah.
So you'd have to be able to identify its clothing, so it shouldn't obfuscate from the back. It's just
Sure.
clothing. So we could go through and highlight.
So data collection is always really time consuming, right?
Yeah, but I'll just use the AWS stuff.
You could. I mean, AWS actually even have a service where it'll
Grand Trace.
detect.
Yeah.
No. They actually even have a computer vision model as a service
Oh, so
that
you
will
use that as a
detect
baseline.
logos.
Cool.
You could. That's a great idea. But what I was going to say is you might be able to find an open source data set that has a bunch of logos in it. I would imagine that AWS service is actually trained on some open source data set.
I'll be asking for their model.
You could. So what I'd probably do is you could definitely obviously have your data set as well, walking around the office. But you could also probably find an open source data set, basically build an object detector on that, pre-train it, and then apply it to your data.
So I would keep it very, very simple. AWS logos. Because we're an AWS office.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Instead of trying to
Sure.
big, just
Yeah.
start with one logo.
Yeah.
And so you're walking with an AWS jacket and it just cuts it out.
Yeah, you could even, the t-shirt websites where you can buy t-shirts and get them custom made. You could even upload your AWS logo and it'll render a shirt with your logo on it and a person wearing it. You can even do that as well.
That'd be cool.
You'd obviously have to draw the boxes, but
So
there's a few different ideas.
Yeah, so would you recommend we because with that, I can imagine we could get a bunch of the AWS logos as almost just pull them straight off the internet, similar to the Bing concept. And just filter it out and have the logo.
Sounds
But
good.
we'd still need to have human.
You could. The one thing that you might find if you do a Google search for AWS logo, and let me go to Google because start page isn't the best. So one thing that you find is that they're all going to be flat, like the sort of logos that you find on a website, right? Whereas you want it on a shirt that's got lighting and stuff like that. Other thing you can do is maybe go AWS shirt.
Yeah.
But then you're not going to get the objects.
So yeah, you could do that and then just use some
Pull stuff
image
out.
of IAM or ground truth to cut.
So once you got your model, what will you do with it?
So I was going to use one of the amplifier workshops and run it through a web browser via just a webcam.
Yeah.
So I've got that already built for something else I've made, so I'll reuse that.
And then you can walk around the office and.
Yeah, well, what I could even do, open up huge. Yeah, so I'm happy with that side of things. It's just the specific fastai stuff.
So one thing that you could also do, if you wanted to, you could get it to detect not only logos or AWS logos, but people, and that way what you can do is basically find a person, and then if logo inside the box of that person, then that is an AWS employee. If not, it's a regular person. And then you can walk around here and figure out who the AWS staff are and who the rest of us are.
Because we could introduce some business logic, and one of the other use cases was to take this and take a picture of anybody not compliant and then send an email.
Yeah.
And build up some additional business logic around that to say, don't send a picture for the same person if it's been greater than, you can imagine there's some business logic there. But gathering data sets would be a bit more difficult than logos.
Potentially, yeah.
But it'd be cool.
You'd have to have a few volunteers, but yeah, you could definitely do it, yeah.
So with that, you'd have to categorise, basically one person, one human per this, similar to safety equipment. Same type of scenario.
Hard hats is a very common one that they do this for. Detecting a person, are they wearing a hard hat or not?
Yeah.
And if they're not, then, I don't know, you fire an alarm or something, yeah.
So that's what I thought with the actual the branding, it's not just a matter of detecting it, but actually removing it from the live video feed.
Yeah.
So just blurring it out somehow. So there's a bit of kind of feedback into the live video feed.
Yeah, but really easy to do with OpenCV to blur
That's
it.
what I was going to use.
Yeah,
even with the flood images, to use that to actually obfuscate some of the actual images, you darken them.
Yeah, cool.
It's more how we can collect a good data set to train it on, how we
for sure.
Because I don't want to spend 80% of our time data prepping.
That's the thing, right? So you definitely go collect data and hand label it. Maybe there's a combination of getting some examples, then maybe you can come up with another way of...
And benchmarking against AWS, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Another decision that we need to take with this logo thing is if you want to do it properly, we need to only do it on shirts. Because they might have on the wall some other points that they want to keep. But do you think that it will make it really hard for a course project?
So there's two things that you could do. But so imagine you want a network that's going to run fairly quick, right? So that it's not like 1 frame per second. You want it to be fairly quick. So what you could do is have one neural net, train it on 2 different data sets, one of people, where you cut out a box, you have a box of is it a person, and then your logos as well, and then you have a single model that has it'll find either people or AWS logos, and then you can use that logic where you basically go, right, find me all the people, and then for each person in this image, is there an AWS logo inside of their bounding box?
What's it called? It's like a pipeline.
Yeah, you can do that.
What's it called? Where you chain models together?
Or like ensembling, but yeah, a pipeline of models. But that's the thing, if you had 2 separate models, what you then have to do is run the first model over the whole image, then you have to run your second model over the cutout of the second image in slow, right? What you want to do is try and put that all into a single network so that it's outputting both your people boxes and your logo boxes, and then it's just really quick CPU logic of is the bounding box inside that other bounding box or not. So obviously if I'm standing here and you draw a bounding box around here, but there's a logo here, it's gonna, there's gonna be edge cases. You'd use a segmentation model, but again, that's the sort of idea. It'll work most of the time.
So where do you see the greatest risk?
I think, yeah, I think if you can get enough pictures of AWS logos, and that's the thing, if you can get, you could either have a model that detects AWS shirts, and that way, if you get an AWS logo on the wall, but it's not on a shirt, your model probably is going to let it go, because you probably also want to train it on AWS logos so it can tell the difference between the two. But if you were, the thing that you need then is pictures of logos on AWS shirts. So that's a lot harder to collect data for. Or you do the other approach where you've got heaps of data sets of people, and you can easily create a data set of AWS logos programmatically, and then you basically put them into the one model and use that logic. So instead of building a model, training a model on AWS shirts, you're training a model on two different things and then doing post-processing. So those are the two options I'd look at. But yeah.
Can you create a channel for us in the Tableau group, because we're mixing with people who are online and we just want to...
For sure. So
how would we create a channel?
I think what we do is, how about I just make a bunch of channels. So in the spreadsheet, there's obviously Vision Group 1, Vision NLP Group 1.
Yeah, so can you create Tableau Group 1?
So so I'll create online/offline, whatever the type of problem is, and then the group number. And then once we've formed all the teams, everyone can join, and then we can change the name of the channels.
We're trying to share the sets we know from each other now, but it's kind of crowded in Tableau Vision.
For sure. I'll do a bunch of copy pasta and set some groups up.
Cool. Thank you.
No worries.
She's cracking the whip.
There you go. You guys are going to be finished in 7 weeks.
Team leader.
No worries.
I like that idea that you said, the post-processing. It's just clean.
You could try both.
And we could just start by two categories. Just keep it really simple, and if we need to build it out, we will.
Yeah.
And if you build it out on like a Lambda, we can run it on green grass or something.
You could. You could probably run it locally as well. If you want to run it on your phone, or you could try and export it to an ONNX model and then run it in PyTorch on your phone or something if you wanted to. So you can run it in the browser on your phone, you do it on your laptop, or run it through a Lambda I've actually got a deep lens at work, but you've got to plug it into the wall, so it's not as handy to walk around.
One of the cars, what are they called? Robot cars?
Yeah, the what is it?
Robo Racer or something.
Robo Racer, I think.
Reinvent was awesome.
Deep Racer,
that's it. So you could always deploy it onto that and drive around and
yeah. It's actually one of the banks down in Melbourne. This is about a year and a half ago. They had a whole bunch of their guys basically convert one of the areas in the office with they made their own Deep Racer track. Or maybe they bought the carpet from AWS. I'm not sure. And they had multiple people there. They'd reverse engineered the training container that they train the models in. So because when you train a model on Deep Racer, you can only train one at a time, or you used to only be able to train one at a time. They reverse engineered the training container so they could run many training runs at once and get the optimal model. They must have spent tens of thousands of company money on it. But anyway, yeah. So yeah.
Just got a few options. We'll float some ideas. And the obfuscation, that would just be something like OpenCV or something. That you don't see as a big...
Yeah, the blurring, you just tell it. You basically just blur that certain area. It's like a one-liner. It's super quick.
The pattern we want to design could be for nudity, it could be for...
Yeah.
So it's more the concepts and the patterns rather than the specifics.
Yeah, for sure. You could set up a little training pipeline that basically, you'd say, right, point it to your images of whatever, and then you hit train, come back a few hours later and load up a different model, and you've got something else, which would be kind of cool. So if you've got a few more Rio Tinto shirts, you could even bring it down here and then hand out a few of those shirts to your team, and then switch the model and swap it to the other model. You could do that as well, which would be cool. So yeah.
That's sort of the idea of building out the framework and the pattern, and we can reuse it for whatever use case we want.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to actually always demo that, to say, here's the pipeline, here's the pattern.
Yeah.
And what we can do to training, to build the model.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It would be.
It sounds like we're stuck with it.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. No worries.
But I think we got 20-30%. So we'll have to see the I've seen that trend. No, we actually got second. We got lollipop in second. I saw that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. They're already in categories as that with the cup. Yeah, that's pretty nice. But is that
We are still live.
topic we're trying to hone down the data set now, like clothing and like colours, so classifying. So ideal product is having a picture of someone wearing clothes and saying what the colours of what they're wearing are. So the use case is like I know someone who's colourblind and they usually have to ask for other people's opinions on whether the colours go together. So this would be so kind of like sorry, I think I'm reading this. He was suggesting like how well the colours go together based on what the colours are. But the main objective is what is the colour movement and what is the item and identifying those. You can turn it into yeah, but it won't tell you which bit is. I guess if you just had an average thing, like what is the average value in the top half of the image? What is the average value in the bottom half of the image? Yeah, okay, sorry. Would it perform better than a baseline?
I wouldn't worry about trying to do means and stuff for deep learning. Just go straight to deep learning. Computer vision, like, unless old school, they used to use like support vector machines and it would take eternity for them to train and they were still terrible. Just run with deep learning for a baseline. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand whether it's appropriate to use something simple.
Yeah, that is a valid point. Yeah, like what if it's not a solid colour? What if it's something which is a main? It's a main colour, but it isn't.
My follow-up question is, how do you really try to
Figure out what
use
the
Python
main
share?
colour is. Yeah. Yeah.
G'day.
How you doing? G'day. Was that you asking about there was a literature dataset request? Yeah. Cool.
Who's an NLP person of the mentors?
There's a few. Yako, who's not here tonight, is. He works at Notive down in the valley. They do a lot of NLP and like voice to text stuff. I'm not sure who else. What I might do actually is get the mentors. I'm going to ask all the mentors to give me a list of what their like primary focuses are, and then I'll post it in one of the channels.
So,
Yeah.
shall we say what we were thinking so far?
And everyone online can hear you, so.
Oh, hello.
You don't want to, it's up to you.
We're still discussing off topic of.
No, I can mute. I'll mute. Hang on. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Hey. Announcements. Excuse me, Alice, please. Shh, Alice. Excuse me, guys. So it is 7:55. So we will finish up soon. Just one thing, because I've been going through creating some Discord channels for everyone. So there's now a whole bunch of Discord channels. As you can see, there's actually lots of them, which means that there's lots of groups. There's lots of online computer vision groups, which is great because lots of people interested in different problems, which is fantastic. The challenge here is that we only have about 10 mentors. So ideally, I think you'd probably have 2 groups per mentor. We're probably going to have to stretch a little bit. But if we count this, there's probably about 30 groups in total. So probably about 10. If there's an average of 4 people per group in person, that's 10 groups. And then there's at least sort of 22-ish online at least. So I think what it means is that we're going to have to do a bit of squishing of groups. So I think what we do is, firstly, there's still some people who haven't joined groups yet. So please make sure that I'm going to give everyone till tomorrow night at, let's say 24 hours time, 8 p.m. At that point, you need to be in a group. So you need to pick something, okay? After that, what's going to happen is I'm going to wield the band hammer. Someone's got to do it. And I think what we do is basically the groups that have the fewest people are probably going to have to get squished into other groups. There are some groups who only have 2 or 3 people who really want to work on their problem. So I think what it means is that if you and your group are still a little bit iffy on what you want to do, you're not that sure, maybe make way and move into another group where there's already another 3 people and you can make a full team. I think it's really important to point out that you're all going to get the most out of this by having at least 3 or 4 people in a team, because there's no guarantee that everyone is going to be working on everything every week for the rest of the course. So the more people in your team, the better. Obviously, you want people who are engaged, but it is a little bit of a numbers game. So 2 things. Please make sure that you are in a group by tomorrow night, and please try and focus on joining a group that already has a number of people in it. A, because it's going to make the lives easier for our mentors and you're going to get more help. And B, because you will hopefully not get hit with the band hammer tomorrow and told that you probably have to join with another team. So we'll try and do it in the nicest way possible, but we just do need to squish it down a little bit. So please, please, please make sure that your name is in here. Make sure that you've signed up. Awesome. On that note, we will end the session and the stream. Thanks everyone for joining. Another round of applause for Olga. Thank you so much, wherever she is. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, Discord is the place to be, and catch you next week. Thank you.